My name is Ethan Carter, 34 years old. I own a mid-sized construction company in Austin, Texas. I built my business from the ground up, pouring sweat and sleepless nights into it, making damn sure my wife never had to lift a finger if she didn't want to. Her name is Maddie Carter, 31 years old. She's a corporate attorney at a top law firm. Sharp as a blade, stunning as a Hollywood starlet, and, apparently, sneaky as hell. Then there's Nate Sterling, my best friend since college. He's 35, a firefighter, and, until that night, I would have trusted him with my life. Hell, I did trust him with my life. Too bad he had other plans. It started with a text message. I was supposed to have a late-night meeting with some contractors. Maddie had kissed me goodbye, told me, "Take your time, babe. No rush coming home." Harmless, right? Except my meeting got cancelled. So, I decided to surprise my wife instead. I pulled into the driveway at 9:48 p.m. Maddie's car was there. Nothing unusual. The house was quiet. The lights upstairs were off. Again, nothing weird. But as soon as I stepped inside, something felt off. You know that gut feeling? The one that slams into you like a freight train? That's what hit me. The living room smelled like Maddie's perfume, except way stronger than usual, like someone had knocked over the entire damn bottle. There was a half-empty bottle of red wine on the kitchen counter, 2 glasses next to it. That's when I noticed it. A firefighter's jacket draped over one of the chairs. A very familiar firefighter's jacket. My stomach turned to ice. I grabbed the jacket and flipped it over, searching for the name patch. And there it was, stitched in black thread. Sterling, my best friend. I stared at that name like it had personally walked up and spit in my face. But I wasn't the type to start screaming or kicking down doors. I took my time. I walked up the stairs slow, steady, my boots barely making a sound against the hardwood. When I reached our bedroom door, I already knew. I could hear them. Muffled voices, a soft giggle, a hushed shush. I twisted the knob and pushed, and there they were. Maddie and Nate, my wife and my best friend, tangled up in my damn sheets, skin against skin, her fingers gripping his back the way they used to grip mine. I expected rage. I expected a volcanic explosion of fury. Instead, I felt nothing. Just a cold, eerie calm. I stood there in the doorway, watched them freeze, watched the color drain from their faces like someone had pulled the plug on their souls. Maddie's mouth opened, but no words came out. Nate, the big tough firefighter, scrambled for a blanket like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Silence. Then, finally, Maddie whispered, "Ethan, I can explain." I let out a short laugh, a dry, humorless thing. "Can you?" I asked, because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty clear. Nate stammered, "Man, listen, it's not what it looks like." I held up his firefighter jacket, his name stitched on it. "Not what it looks like," I repeated. "So what is it, then? A CPR lesson? Some emergency fire drill?" Nate's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Maddie clutched the blanket to her chest, tears welling up in her eyes. "Ethan, please." I didn't want to hear it. I tossed the jacket at Nate's face. "Get the hell out of my house." He hesitated, glancing at Maddie like he expected her to say something. Maybe to defend him. Maybe to beg me to let him stay. Instead, Maddie burst into tears. Nate scrambled to grab his clothes, practically falling over himself as he bolted out the room. Moments later, I heard the front door slam shut. Now, it was just me and her, my cheating wife. She sobbed, mascara running down her cheeks. "Ethan, I'm so sorry." I held up a hand. "I don't want to hear it." I walked to my closet, pulled out a suitcase, and started packing my clothes. Maddie gasped, "Wait, what are you doing?" I didn't even look at her. "What does it look like?" "I'm leaving." She lunged at me, grabbing my arm. "No, please, Ethan, don't do this." I yanked free. "You did this, not me." Tears spilled down her face. "It was a mistake. I wasn't thinking." I zipped up my suitcase and turned to face her. "How long?" She hesitated. I stepped closer, eyes locking onto hers. "How long?" A shaky breath. Then, finally, she whispered it. 6 months. I felt something inside me snap. 6 months. Half a damn year. My hands clenched into fists. I wanted to break something, but I didn't. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. Instead, I picked up my suitcase and walked out of the bedroom. Maddie followed me, crying, "Please, we can fix this. We can go to therapy." I paused at the front door, looked at her one last time. Then, I shook my head. "No, Maddie, you broke it, and some things don't get fixed." And with that, I walked out. I sat in my truck outside the Magnolia Motel, engine off, fingers drumming against the steering wheel. The clock on the dashboard read 417 am. I hadn't slept. I hadn't even tried. After leaving Maddie and Nate in their little nest of betrayal, I drove aimlessly 4 hours, trying to figure out what the hell to do next. Divorce? Obviously, but I wasn't about to let her walk away easy. No, Maddie was about to learn that actions have consequences. And the first step? Gather intel. Cheating wasn't just about the act. It was about the lies, the deception, the layers of bullshit that built up over time. 6 months. That meant Maddie and Nate had a whole history behind my back. And if there was one thing I hated more than a liar, it was a sloppy liar. I needed to know everything. So, I did what any sane, rational man would do at 4 in the morning. I called Tyler. Tyler the fixer. Tyler Bishop, 36, private investigator. A guy I'd met years ago through a construction job. He had an escape's instincts, a tech geek's skills, and absolutely no moral compass when it came to getting dirt on people. Tyler answered on the third ring, voice groggy. Ethan? Jesus, man, do you know what time it is? I'll pay you double your usual rate. That woke him up. Okay, talk to me. I need a full background check on 2 people, Maddie Carter and Nathan Sterling. A pause. Wait, you're Maddie? What the hell happened? Caught her in bed with Nate. Another pause. Then, a low whistle. Damn, yeah, I want everything. Texts, calls, locations, hidden accounts, burner phones. If it exists, I want to know about it. Tyler let out a slow exhale. This gonna get ugly? I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. My jaw was clenched so tight it hurt. Oh yeah. 48 hours later, I met Tyler at a rundown diner on the outskirts of town. He slid a manila folder across the table, smirking. Hope you're sitting down, buddy. I flipped open the file. What I saw made my stomach drop. Bank statements, hotel receipts, GPS pings. They weren't just sleeping together. They'd been traveling together. Weekend business trips. Nate was always there. Spa getaways with her girlfriends. Nate, that one time she went to visit her mom in Florida. Yeah, Nate was in the same damn city the entire time. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the insurance policy. Tucked in the folder was a life insurance document Maddie had taken out on me 6 months ago, right around the time she started screwing Nate. And the payout? $1 million. I let out a slow, shaky breath. She was planning something. Tyler nodded. That's my guess. My mind raced. Was this just a coincidence? A safety net? Or were Maddie and Nate planning to do more than just stab me in the back? Were they planning to get rid of me for good? My hands curled into fists. Oh, you treacherous little. I snapped the folder shut. I need more. Their texts, their calls, I want their own words condemning them. Tyler grinned. Already ahead of you. The smoking gun. The next day, Tyler sent me a zip file. Hundreds of messages. I sat in my truck and scrolled, each text like a fresh punch to the gut. Nate is too trusting, babe. He doesn't suspect a thing. Maddie, I know. I almost feel bad. Nate, almost. LOL. Maddie, it's just, once he's out of the picture, we can finally be together. No more sneaking around. Nate, how much longer? Maddie, not long. Patience, baby. It'll all work out. Not long. Not long. My blood turned to fire. They weren't just cheating. They were waiting for something. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to just divorce Maddie. I wasn't going to just kick Nate's ass. I was going to make them both pay. Acting like the fool. The first step was pretending like I knew nothing. I moved back home. Maddie, of course, was overjoyed. Oh my God, Ethan. I was so scared I lost you. She sobbed in my arms, clutching me like a lifeline. Fake. All of it. I played along. Nodded, said I missed her too, told her we could rebuild our marriage. And just like that, the game began. One last message. That night, as Maddie slept beside me, I took her phone and sent one final message to Nate before deleting it. Maddie, everything's going perfectly. He has no idea. And just like that, I set the trap. I woke up to the scent of vanilla and cinnamon, Maddie's signature perfume, mixed with the smell of freshly brewed coffee. She was standing by the bed, a tray in her hands, smiling down at me like the perfect wife. Good morning, baby, she said softly. The tray had pancakes, eggs, bacon, and coffee, my favorite. I almost laughed. She thought she had won. I stretched, faking grogginess, rubbing my eyes as I sat up. Wow, breakfast in bed? She giggled and sat beside me. I just wanted to do something special for you. Special? Yeah, right. More like guilt-ridden overcompensation. I took a slow sip of coffee, studying her. She looked too happy, too relieved. Last night, I had sent Nate a text from Maddie's phone, making it seem like she had everything under control, that I was completely fooled. And now, she was playing the role of the doting wife perfectly. I chewed on a piece of bacon, keeping my tone casual. You were right, Maddie. She blinked. About what? I think I was just overwhelmed that night. That's why I stormed off. I sighed, shaking my head. It was stupid of me. She placed a gentle hand on my thigh, her perfectly manicured nails tracing slow circles. It's okay, Ethan. I know it must have been a shock. Shock? Oh, honey, you have no idea. She leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to my cheek. I just want us to be okay again. I gave her a weak smile. Me too. A wife's newfound passion. Over the next few days, Maddie turned into the ideal wife. She cooked extravagant meals, wore the lingerie I used to love, rubbed my shoulders when I came home from work. And the sex? It was better than it had been in years. She was wild, passionate, desperate, like she was trying to reignite something that had been long dead. Or maybe, trying to keep me distracted. Every time I caught her staring at me when she thought I wasn't looking, her expression wasn't one of love. It was calculation. How much does he know? Does he suspect anything? But I played my part well. I laughed at her jokes, complimented her cooking, acted like the loving, clueless husband she needed me to be. And Nate? Not a damn word from him. He wasn't texting her. He wasn't calling, because after the message I sent, he thought everything was fine. A little spying never hurt anyone. But I wasn't just sitting back and letting her get comfortable. I installed a hidden GPS tracker on her car, put a tiny voice recorder under her vanity table, hacked into her laptop and phone, and what I found? It was worse than I imagined. She was still talking to Nate, not through texts, not through calls, through a secret chat app disguised as a recipe planner. I sat in my truck that night, parked a few blocks away from my house, reading their sickeningly sweet messages. Nate, you think he bought it? Maddie 100%. His acting totally normal. Nate, good. We just need a little more time. Maddie, I know. I can't wait to finally be free of him. Free of me. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. She wasn't just keeping me around for the insurance payout. She was waiting for the right moment to get rid of me. Let's have a date night. That evening, I came home with a smile on my face and a bottle of red wine in my hands. Maddie looked up from the couch, surprised. What's this? I shrugged, setting the wine down. Thought we could have a date night. Just us. Her expression flickered, for just a second. A hesitation, because she didn't expect this. Oh, wow, Ethan, that sounds amazing. She forced a bright smile. She was panicking inside. Good. I poured her a full glass of wine, topping mine only halfway. Over dinner, we talked like we were newlyweds again. I asked her about work. She asked me about my day. We laughed, but under the surface, we were both playing a game. She thought she was manipulating me into trusting her again, but in reality, I was reeling her in for the final strike, the emotional breakdown. As we cleaned up the dishes, she suddenly burst into tears. Ethan, her voice cracked, I need to tell you something. Here it was, the fake confession. I put down my plate, feigning concern. What is it, baby? She sniffled, rubbing her eyes. I just feel so guilty about everything. About Nate. I frowned. Guilty? She nodded, sniffling harder. I made a horrible mistake. I never should have done it. I hate myself for hurting you. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Maddie, I love you, Ethan. She grabbed my hands, squeezing them tightly. I don't want to lose you. She was good. If I didn't know what I knew, I might have actually believed her. I cupped her cheek, wiping away a tear with my thumb. I love you too, Maddie. She collapsed into my arms, sobbing. And that's when I knew. She was going to make her move soon. The setup begins. That night, as she slept, I did one last thing. I took her phone, opened the secret chat app, and sent Nate a message. Maddie, everything is going according to plan. He still has no idea. We'll be free of him soon. Then, I deleted it. The bait was set. Now, I just had to wait for them to walk right into my trap. The next morning, Maddie was practically glowing. She kissed me like we were newlyweds again, made me a massive breakfast, and even started talking about the future, how we should go on vacation, maybe even have a baby. She was really selling it now, but I had seen the messages. I had sent one myself. And now, all I had to do was sit back and watch her play her part. We were the perfect married couple in love. The only difference? I knew it was all bullshit. The family's reaction. Word got out fast that Maddie and I had worked things out. My mom, Patricia, was thrilled. "Oh, honey, I knew you two would get through this," she gushed over the phone. "Marriage is about forgiveness. I'm so proud of you for fighting for your love." "Yeah, sure, that's what I was doing." My dad, Roger, was more skeptical. "You're telling me," he grunted, "you caught her screwing some guy in our old house, and you're just gonna let that go?" "Dad, it's complicated." "No, it's not. It's simple. She's a lying, cheating, manipulative piece of..." "Dad," he exhaled sharply, "look, you're a grown man. You do what you gotta do. But just remember," his voice lowered, "a snake doesn't stop being a snake just because it sheds its skin." I knew that better than anyone. Maddie's parents, on the other hand, were ecstatic. Her mom, Susan, nearly cried when Maddie told her we were stronger than ever. Her dad, Greg, clapped me on the back at a family dinner. "You're a real man, Ethan. A weaker guy would have walked away. But you stuck by your wife." "Yeah, for now." Friends who see right through it. Nate, of course, didn't show his face. He was too afraid. And so, I played the role of the forgiving, loving husband perfectly. But my best friend, Tyler, he wasn't buying it. "You're full of shit," he said, leaning against my truck after work. "What?" I laughed. "Man, Maddie and I worked things out." Tyler took a slow drag from his cigarette, staring at me like I was a stranger. "You're not stupid, Ethan." His eyes narrowed. "And you're definitely not the type of guy who just lets something like this slide." I shrugged. "People change." "Yeah, and people get even." A slow smirk crept up my face. "Guess we'll see, won't we?" Maddie's emotional confession. That night, Maddie took me by the hand and led me to the bedroom, looking at me with those big, guilty eyes. "Ethan, I need to tell you the truth." I almost laughed. "Oh, this should be good." She sat on the edge of the bed, wringing her hands. "I did have feelings for Nate." Her voice cracked, "but it was just a stupid mistake. I was lost. I was lonely. I wasn't thinking clearly." I sighed, sitting beside her. "Maddie." She turned to me, gripping my hands. "But when I thought I was going to lose you, it hit me, I don't want him. I never did. I want you." Her eyes welled up with crocodile tears. "I love you, Ethan, and I'll do anything to prove it." I cupped her cheek, rubbing my thumb over her skin. "Then prove it." She blinked. "How?" "Cut all ties with Nate." A flicker of hesitation, barely noticeable. Then she nodded. "Of course." That night, she deleted the chat app, blocked Nate's number, and even sent him a cold, final text. "Maddie, I made a mistake. I love my husband. Don't contact me again." I kissed her like I believed her, and she kissed me back like she meant it. But what she didn't know, I had already cloned her phone. I could see everything. And by the time morning came, I already knew she was still lying through her teeth. For the next 2 weeks, Maddie was the perfect wife. She cooked my favorite meals. Steak, medium rare, spaghetti with homemade sauce, even a damn cheesecake, which she used to complain was too much effort. She woke up early to make me coffee. She wore lingerie to bed. She even suggested we go house hunting like we were a newlywed couple ready to start fresh. Anyone looking in from the outside would have thought she was madly in love. And maybe, just maybe, if I hadn't known better, I would have believed it. The first slip. One night, she was in the shower, singing softly. Her phone lit up on the nightstand. I already had all her messages mirrored to my laptop, but I still checked the screen. Old habits. Unknown number. "Hey, did you get my message?" Unknown number. "Maddie." I smiled. "Ah, Nate." She had blocked his number, which meant he was now using a different one. I didn't open the message. Didn't need to, but I did go to my laptop later, scrolling through her deleted texts. Turns out, she had been texting him the entire time. The lies unravel. At breakfast the next morning, I tested her. "Hey," I said casually, taking a bite of my toast. "Have you heard from Nate at all?" She froze, just for a fraction of a second. Then she forced a chuckle. "God, no, I blocked him, remember?" She said it so smoothly, so convincingly. I sipped my coffee, nodding. "Good, I was just wondering." A little too quickly, she added, "I mean, even if he tried to contact me, I wouldn't answer." I met her gaze, watching her lips move so effortless around the lie. "Oh, I know," I murmured. I meant it, too. I knew everything. How I caught her, again. When Maddie left to visit her mom, I followed. Except she didn't drive to Susan's house. She took the back roads out of town. I kept my distance, letting her think she was completely alone as she pulled into the parking lot of a seedy little roadside diner. And who was already inside, sitting in a booth at the back? Nathan, the man who swore to my face he wouldn't touch her again. The woman who swore to my face she wanted only me. They were both right there, and as I sat in my truck, watching them through the window, I felt something dark and cold settle over me. Maddie reached across the table, taking his hand in hers. She was smiling, laughing, looking at him like she used to look at me. I clenched my jaw so hard it ached. I could have stormed in. I could have dragged him out by his hair, but no, that would have been too easy, too merciful. What she told him. That night, I watched the texts flood in. Maddie, I hated lying to him, but I had no choice. Nate, I get it, baby, just a little longer. Maddie, I can't do this forever. He's starting to ask questions. Nate, then we'll figure something out. Just be patient, just be patient. So they were waiting me out, letting me think Maddie was faithful, and once the time was right, she was going to leave me anyway, take half of everything, maybe even try to turn me into the bad guy in the divorce. Oh, Maddie, you should have just left when I caught you the first time. The rage beneath the surface. The next day, I let her kiss me goodbye. Let her whisper, I love you. I whispered it back, made her believe I still trusted her, but inside, I was already planning my revenge. And when I was done, she wouldn't just lose me, she'd lose everything. I didn't get mad, I got focused. There's a difference between anger and revenge. Anger is loud, reckless, and easy to spot. Revenge? It's quiet, calculated, and devastating. Maddie and Nate thought they were smart, thought they had me wrapped around their fingers. They didn't realize that I had already started playing my own game. And in the end, I wasn't just going to break them, I was going to erase them. Step 1: the financial trap. First things first, I had to make sure that when Maddie eventually left me for Nate, she'd walk away with nothing. See, Maddie had no idea how our finances actually worked. She thought she had access to everything. In reality, the accounts in her name, empty. Our shared accounts, all moved and secured. My actual money, hidden in a private account she'd never find. But I didn't stop there. I forged documents showing that Maddie had massive credit card debt, opened a secret account in her name and ran up fake transactions. I even made sure she had a small, mysterious loan under her social security number, something that would haunt her credit score for years. By the time I was done, her financial record made her look like a compulsive gambler. When she left me, she wouldn't just lose me, she'd lose any chance at a stable future. Step 2: destroying her reputation. Next up, Maddie's perfect image. Maddie thrived on public approval. She loved being the good girl in our social circle, a devoted wife, a responsible woman, a future mother. But what happens when that image shatters? I started small. Whispers at work, little rumors that she was stealing from the company, taking long unexplained breaks, and being overly friendly with certain male co-workers. Then I got creative. I made fake text messages that painted her as a manipulative, selfish person. I leaked those messages in the right places. Her best friends, they suddenly weren't so loyal anymore. Her co-workers started keeping their distance. By the time she figured it out, she'd be completely alone. Step 3: Nate's perfect nightmare. Now, I had to deal with Nate. And oh, was I going to make him suffer. First, I needed to know everything about him. Where he worked, his habits, his dirty little secrets. And oh, did I find some golden ones. See, Nate had a habit of cheating, too. Not just on Maddie, but on his own past girlfriends. Even on his taxes. I compiled all of it. Every woman he'd screwed over. Every illegal business deal he was involved in. Every crime he thought he got away with. And then, I made sure that everyone who mattered knew about it. I sent anonymous emails to his boss, tipped off his company's HR department about some ethical violations, even sent screenshots of his old cheating messages to a few of his exes. The dude's entire world started crumbling. But that was just the appetizer. The real main course was yet to come. Step 4: the trap. Now came the final move, making them think they won. I started acting distant, pretended to be distraught, like I was finally believing Maddie's lies. She started feeling safe again. She even told me, Ethan, I think we should renew our vows. I wanted to laugh, but I played along. And then, one night, I left a fake email open on my laptop. It was an email from a divorce lawyer, one that looked like I had already signed the papers. I made sure Maddie saw it, and that same night, she texted Nate, Maddie is leaving me. It's finally happening. Nate, then we don't have to hide anymore. We can finally be together. Perfect, because now, they were exactly where I wanted them. And I was about to end this game once and for all. It was a Friday night. Maddie thought I was on a business trip. Nathan thought he had finally won. And me, I was sitting in my truck, watching it all unfold. Maddie had invited him over to our house, the one I paid for, the one she had been planning to steal from me. I watched as she greeted him at the door, kissed him, led him inside. That's when I smiled, because tonight was the night everything burned down. Step 1: the unraveling. About 20 minutes later, Maddie and Nate were in the bedroom. That's when all their phones started blowing up. Maddie's boss, Nate's boss, Maddie's mom, Maddie's dad, Maddie's best friends, the company HR department, the IRS, all at once. Because while they were busy celebrating their freedom, I was pulling the final trigger. Every single piece of dirt I had gathered, every screenshot of Maddie's cheating, every fake transaction in her name, every message proving Nate was a serial cheater, a fraud, and a liar, it all went public. Step 2: the first explosion. Maddie grabbed her phone first. "Why is everyone texting me?" she mumbled, scrolling through the notifications. Then she froze. Her hands started shaking. Her eyes went wide. I knew exactly what she was seeing. Maddie, the loyal wife, was officially exposed. Screenshots of her affair were flooding every group chat. Facebook, blown up. Instagram, tagged in 100 different posts. Even her company's official email had a mysterious mass email leak, one that forwarded her messages with Nate to every department head. Her job, gone. Her reputation, destroyed. And when she looked up at Nate with panic in her eyes, she had no idea that his life was about to collapse, too. Step 3: Nate's world crumbles. Just as Maddie was spiraling, Nate's phone started blaring. A call from his boss, another from a local news station, and then knock, knock, knock. I smirked, sitting in my truck, watching as 2 IRS agents walked up the driveway. They had questions about some financial irregularities in his business. And oh, were they not friendly. He bolted for the door, but before he could get it open, his phone rang again. This time, his ex-girlfriend, the one he swore he'd never cheated on. Turns out, she got a special message tonight, too. Nate's entire dating history exposed. His lies, his other affairs, the messages he sent to multiple women while sleeping with Maddie. And Maddie saw all of it. Step 4: Maddie realizes she was played. She turned to Nate, her face pale. You were cheating on me," she whispered. Nate was still focused on the IRS agents, but he barely had time to react before, bang, the front door swung open. And who stood there? Maddie's parents, her best friends, and behind them, half the damn neighborhood. See, I had invited some guests to witness Maddie's grand finale, and the best part, I wasn't even inside yet. I was still sitting in my truck, watching, letting it all sink in, letting Maddie realize, she never won. She never had control. She was never in charge of this game. I was. Step 5: my grand entrance. Now, I could have let it end there, could have just watched from the truck as her entire life crumbled. But no, I wanted to look her in the eyes when I delivered the final blow. So I stepped out, walked up the driveway, casually, like I was just getting home from work. And when Maddie saw me, her face went from panic to absolute horror, because she finally understood. This wasn't some freak coincidence. This wasn't bad luck. This was me, her husband, the man she thought was too weak to fight back, the man she thought she had wrapped around her finger, the man who had just systematically destroyed her entire world. I stood there, taking in the scene. Maddie, crying. Nate, trying to explain himself. Maddie's parents, furious. Maddie's boss, standing in the doorway, shaking his head. And me, I just smiled. "You were right, Maddie," I said, my voice calm. She swallowed hard. What? I stepped forward, leaned in close, and whispered, "I should have come home late." Then I walked away. Never looked back, because I didn't have to. I had already won. I walked away from the house that night like a man who had just finished a masterpiece, a work of art so devastating that even the ruins left behind were beautiful. Maddie, destroyed. Nate, ruined. And me, finally free. But revenge isn't just about the moment. It's about what happens after. The slow, painful consequences that keep unfolding. And oh, were there consequences? For everyone. Maddie, a life in shambles. 2 days after the great unveiling Maddie showed up at my new apartment. Her face was puffy from crying. Her hair was a mess. The once pristine, polished woman I married now looked like a ghost of herself. I didn't let her in. Didn't need to. She stood in the doorway, begging. "I have nothing left, Ethan." Her voice cracked. "Please, I know I hurt you, but I cut her off. "Did you sleep with him after I took you back?" She hesitated. "That's all I needed. Get the off my porch, Maddie." And with that, I closed the door in her face. She sent hundreds of texts after that. Tried calling my mom to plead on her behalf. Even tried talking to my boss. But it didn't matter, because Maddie's life was already wrecked beyond repair. Her job, fired within 24 hours of the email leaks. Her social life, gone. Her friends wanted nothing to do with her. Her family, they were furious. Her mom called her a disgrace. Her finances? She quickly realized that she had nothing. I heard she was living with her sister, working some cashier job at a gas station. A far cry from the luxury lifestyle she thought she'd have with Nate. And speaking of Nate rock bottom looks good on you. The moment the IRS knocked on his door, Nate's world imploded. His company fired him before he could even clear his name. The tax fraud charges? They were very real. His business partners abandoned him instantly. His reputation? Ripped to shreds. Turns out, his past exes were thrilled to see his downfall. One of them even dug up an old assault accusation. Now, Nate wasn't just broke. He was facing actual jail time. Good luck with that, buddy. The people's reaction. The fallout wasn't just personal, it was public. Everyone knew. Everyone had an opinion. And they let Maddie and Nate hear it. Some highlights. Maddie's old co-worker posted a meme about cheating your way into unemployment. It went viral. One of Nate's exes did a podcast episode about how poetic justice finally came. My best friend, Jake, sent me a text. Bro, UF ***ing Thana snapped their lives. This was legendary. It felt good. It felt right. But there was one final thing left to do. The final nail in the coffin. A week later, I had a court date. Divorce proceedings. Maddie showed up looking like she had aged 5 years in a week. Her lawyer? Some budget dude she probably found on Craigslist. My lawyer? A shark. Maddie tried pleading for alimony. The judge laughed. Thanks to the gambling debts and financial irresponsibility I had planted, the court ruled that Maddie actually owed me money. The best part? She couldn't even afford a lawyer for the appeal. The divorce was finalized within days. And just like that, she was officially nothing to me. Moving on the upgrade. Once the dust settled, I did something I hadn't done in years. I lived. No stress, no drama, no backstabbing wife plotting behind my back. I went on vacations. I started dating again. And oh, the dating part, that was the cherry on top. Because a few months after everything went down, I met Lena. Lena was everything Maddie pretended to be. Smart, genuine, loyal, and the best part, she had actually been one of the people roasting Maddie online. I saw your revenge unfold, she told me on our third date. I was rooting for you. We laughed, we drank, and later that night, well, let's just say, revenge wasn't the only thing that felt satisfying. The final thought. Some people say revenge is pointless, that it's better to let go and move on. But you know what? Sometimes, revenge is exactly what you need, not just to hurt the people who wronged you, but to remind yourself that you're not weak, that you don't have to take betrayal lying down, that you're in control of your own damn life. And as I sat on my balcony, drink in hand, watching the world move forward, I knew one thing for sure, I didn't just win. ***ing dominated. ***. And Maddie? She was nothing but a lesson I'd never forget. The end.